Hello, this is your host, Belle Shavy speaking. Welcome to today's episode of the Morrison Family Center for Student Wellbeing's podcast, WellCat 101. The purpose of this podcast is to give students an opportunity to share their college experiences, their advice, or interesting anecdotes for listeners who are students, staff, parents, etc. Each episode topic will be related to student well-being and or mental health through the lens of positivity and growth. We hope you enjoy this episode of WellCat 101. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of WellCat 101. We are well into the year, and now that we are back from Thanksgiving break, finals are just around the corner, so we are in the last home stretch of the year. Before we get into today's episode, we here at the Morrison Family Center would like to remind our listeners of a few things for surviving these next 3 weeks. Make sure that you plan ahead. Make sure that you check and know when exams and projects are due and create a schedule for how you're going to tackle them. So you should probably try to do this in advance to alleviate as much stress as possible. Create a routine for yourself. Eating and sleeping are two of the biggest factors of success, and during these weeks before break, the winter blues can definitely make the workload seem absolutely impossible. I personally understand this so intensely, but creating a routine and sticking to it can help with burnout, and it also provides consistency during a time when normal schedule is changing. Maybe you don't have your classes at normal times, or maybe you have projects that are happening in the evening or exams that are going on in the evening, so your schedule's kind of being altered a little bit, but sticking to a set routine of the things that you can control, like when you go to bed, when you eat, things like that can really help. And remember that grades don't define you. Of course, we want you to succeed in your classes and strive to perform your best on exams, projects, presentations, etc. However, it's important to remember that doing your best means doing the best you can given the circumstances. Your best might change day to day. It might be different than it was a year ago. It might be different than it was a month ago. And that's totally okay. I know that I need those reminders around this time. So us at the Morrison Family Center just wanted to kind of put that out there to let our listeners know that we're here for you. And there will be lots of mental health resources listed in the description. So now to dive into the episode. Our guest today is first-year student Jocelyn Brott. Jocelyn and I are actually in a class together, which is what inspired me to bring her on to talk about the college student experience and specifically how social media kind of impacts that and makes it a little bit different than it was before social media existed. Jocelyn, how are you? Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. As you said, I'm Jocelyn Brott. I'm a first-year student, and I am an English-French major, dual major. I'm just excited to be here. I've never been on a podcast before, so this is a new experience.
We have a first-timer. Oh my gosh. So French and English, why? What is...
Yeah, it's actually a funny story. I always liked English in high school, so I just kind of came into it naturally, and then while I was here, I was in French, and then I was like, oh, I already have to take a couple of these for my major requirements, so I'll just declare a minor. And then I talked to an advisor and ended up just declaring a double major. So here we are. Hopefully we'll do law at some point, but we'll see.
Oh, so cool. I love that. And obviously you've got lots of time to decide. I was just curious because those are difficult. Jocelyn and I are in French class together, so yeah. We totally get it. Now, before we get into today's topic, we have to address the elephant in the room. Wicked for Good.
Yes.
It absolutely took over. Wicked took over our lives last November, and Wicked for Good just came out. What do we think?
I personally really enjoyed it. I am a musical enjoyer in general, though. So if you don't like musicals, I wouldn't recommend it because it is very musical heavy. There's a lot of singing, there's a lot of dancing, but for a Broadway, it was originally a Broadway musical.
Yes.
For going on to television or movie, I thought it was a very good adaptation.
I agree, actually. I was really skeptical at the beginning with the first Wicked movie because I knew Ariana Grande was a pop artist, and so I was like, we'll see how she does amidst all of this Broadway material. I mean, I'm a theater major, so obviously stickler for things to be, I don't want to say correct, but I'm very critical when I watch musicals, but I loved the first movie and I really did like the second one. I went and saw it twice actually. Went and saw it once at the beginning of break and once at the end of Thanksgiving break. And I will say upon the second watch, I liked it more. I think that the second one, you have to like the musical, the second act is what the second movie is. And so I feel like the first time I watched it, I had to really focus on like what was going on with the plot to understand what was going on. But the second time I was like, I'm just here to enjoy the music and to enjoy Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero and everything. So
Yeah, I will say I didn't know anything about Wicked before. Like the movies, I knew it was about the Wizard of Oz. We live in Kansas. It's kind of hard not
it's hard not to know about
the Wizard of Oz. But I went to the first one with one of my friends from high school. She's a senior this year, so she's a year younger than I am. And so we hadn't actually seen each other since the semester started. So it was the first time we saw each other. And so it was really fun to be able to like reconnect and catch up, but also like see this movie that we saw the first half of last year.
Yeah, and like bringing you together. That's so awesome.
Bonding over Wicked,
Absolutely. It's so great. And what a movie to bond over. I mean, that's literally what Wicked is about.
I know. I was also really skeptical about Ariana Grande. Has she acted in anything before?
I mean, obviously she was on like Nickelodeon and Victorious and stuff.
I forgot about that.
No, I forgot about it too because I was actually just reminded of it because of this movie. I was like, oh yeah, she was in Sam and Cat and Victorious.
Well, she also had like bright red hair.
Yes, she looks quite different.
She does look quite different now.
But yeah. But thinking about Wicked has got lots of people thinking about how media portrayals of real people can influence what people think about them, because first Wicked movie very much like has all of the like fun songs in it. It's like a very fun movie and it's like, oh, we're going to go see the wizard, all this stuff. Second movie I feel like is so much more emphasis on like maybe a commentary about how society views villains. So like for those of you who are unfamiliar, Wicked is a prequel to Wizard of Oz and then kind of goes into the Wizard of Oz story. And it's telling the story of like, what if the Wicked Witch actually was good? We were just all lied to in the Wizard of Oz. And it obviously like in the land of Oz, there's no Snapchat or Instagram, but the concept is still the same. Like a person's image, the moral of the story is that a person's image is not always a reflection of their true nature. So Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, and Glinda are actually friends. And Elphaba is portrayed as the villain, even though she's trying to do something good. And so I feel like social media today works in such a similar way. And I thought that was such a good way to kind of tie in our topic, because we want to kind of have an open discussion today about how social media impacts our lives as college students, what we've noticed about our habits regarding social media, and like maybe some ways we can improve the way we use it. I don't know. I kind of just left this episode kind of open-ended because I didn't want to harp on how social media is bad, because there are definitely some bad aspects of it, but it's a double-edged sword, right? Like social media helps you keep in touch with long-distance friendships, long-distance relationships. We did an episode last year about around this time called Dating in the Digital Age, where we just talked about how social media impacts dating, but this is a more broad of like how social media just impacts your life as a college student. So our first kind of topic of discussion is like, how has your social media usage changed since you started college versus before?
Well, I would say it hasn't changed a lot, but it has changed in like how I think about how I use it. So before I came to college, I had TikTok like everyone else. And then when it got banned, kind of banned,
oh my gosh,
whatever that was, in like
whatever
January
that was,
or February, I guess it was this year. It's still 2025.
Not for much longer.
But I like realized when it was getting banned, I was in a Crumble Cookie because one of my friends was working there, and I was with two of my other friends, and we were literally sitting there waiting for it to get banned to see if it actually went through. And then it did, and then we were just like hanging out after talking. And I realized I was like really concerned about not having access to it anymore. And I was like, that's probably not a good thing. Like if I'm like genuinely like, oh, what am I going to do with my time now that I don't have this? So I just decided to not re-download it, thinking that would reduce my screen time. Fun fact, it did not reduce my screen time. I just transitioned to Instagram Reels.
I remember when all of the social medias saw the just absolute wildfire that TikTok was, and now every single social media app has its own version.
Like Snapchat Reels.
Mm-hmm.
I stay away from Snapchat Reels, but I will say I have moved more to Instagram Reels. I do use Snapchat a lot more just because basically all my friends from high school go to different schools. None of them go here.
Yeah.
And so staying in contact with them, like, that is a pretty major way. And just like my brother got engaged a month or two ago. And so we got the engagement pictures before, but then seeing like the posts and everything like that, I would use it more now for just like staying in contact with people. And like you see someone's story from high school and you swipe up and say something about it. It's just definitely different.
Definitely. Yeah. Growing up especially in a community that you've been in for a long time, social media was kind of old news. Like when I lived in a smaller town that I had lived in for a long time, I felt like I would know about something before I saw it on social media. Mm-hmm. But obviously after coming to college and having to stay in contact with, people that I knew, I didn't have a Facebook before college. I made a Facebook so that my relatives could keep in contact with me, so that my friends could keep in contact with me. Posting about something is much more of like an announcement now than it was. Like posting on social media before college, I felt like was just kind of for fun, like, and it's still for fun, or it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to make it too deep, but it definitely I feel a lot more pressure to have things be announcements or things. There's a lot more gravity, I feel like, to posting. I spend a lot more time thinking about what I'm posting on Instagram than before college.
Well, I didn't even think about that, but after you said that, it did set in a little more, because in high school, like, you would post like homecoming, prom, winter formal, whatever it is, graduation, all this stuff, but everyone already knows about it that's going to see it. Everybody knows what you were wearing at prom or whatever it is. Now it's like, I realized I didn't post anything until Halloween. And I literally only posted for Halloween because I was like, there's people that I know that don't know that I'm alive because I haven't talked to them and I haven't posted in months. So they have no idea like what's going on. And so it did feel kind of not like an obligation, but like I should probably put something out so people kind of know what's going on in my life.
Yeah, especially with relatives that live far away or, best friends that live far away. Like my very best friend and I have never lived in the same place. And so obviously we keep in contact with each other over actual text and things like that. But, a lot of the pictures that I see of her are not pictures that she sent to me. It's pictures that are on social media.
Yeah. Or they're pictures like a lot of my friends from high school that I'm closer with go to KU. And so I see pictures of them like with their intramural sports groups or whatever it is. And like I hear about the friends that they talk about, but then being able to put a face with it too is like really nice. Like not in like a weird way, not like I have to know who they're hanging out with all the time, but just like, oh, like this is who they're talking about. This is what they're up to.
It does feel so much more, you feel so much more connected to a person when you can picture the people that they're telling a story about when they're talking to you about them. Yeah. So that is, I would say, a really big positive of social media. How would you say, like, how much do you use social media?
I feel like it varies by the week just with classes and everything, but probably on a daily basis, if I had to take a guess, like 2 hours? 2 hours?
I would probably say the same. I don't want to look at my screen time because my screen time might tell me that I'm lying, but I would say the same.
I have like a screen time reminder on my social media. So, I mean, every time it pops up, I hit ignore. But I think it's set at like an hour and a half. And usually I don't hit it until like nighttime, like 8:30-ish. So generally throughout the day, I'm pretty good about it because I'm in class and I don't sit on my phone in class. But I don't think it's as bad as it used to be in high school. I feel like in high school it was a lot worse.
Really? Did your high school have, for a little while, my high school tried to implement like phone pouches?
They started that this year.
Oh, wow.
I think my high school is now, don't quote me on this, I don't know for sure, but I think they now have like a zero tolerance policy.
And
for
I've
in
seen
class.
that more and more across different states. I know in Missouri, there's lots of schools now. And might have to fact check this one. There was some sort of, I don't know if it was like a ban or like a phone restriction, but I know that phones in schools are really heavily restricted now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes, like, I hate to say it, but it does kind of make sense because there are people that just, like, don't do anything
Yeah.
and then they score poorly on things. Like, if you're in a class and you don't do anything or you're on your phone, but then you do your assignments or whatever and you're fine, it's like, I don't think that's as big of an issue because they're still performing well and, you know, as long as it's not causing any personal issues. But there are a lot of people, at least that I saw in high school, that would just sit AirPods in, not paying any attention.
Yeah. And it's hard to ignore the absolute like ocean in your hand that is your phone.
Yeah.
Like I sit there and I think about, we criticize people so much for phone usage, myself included. I'm a big hypocrite. But also thinking about the way that addiction works and the way that like the dopamine hit that you get from checking your phone, it's so hard to not. And so phone restrictions, I feel like sometimes have the opposite problem of like being a little bit too restricted. I think that the communication aspect, like I think students should be able to have their phones, but the restrictions are done with good intention because they are incredibly hard to ignore. And in college, obviously, they're much less regulated because everybody's an adult. You're paying for your own education. If you want to be on your phone in class, you can be on your phone in class. But I've even noticed with myself, I have to put limits and boundaries for myself because sometimes I am tempted or sometimes things are boring. And it's like, I wasn't a big person who went on their phone in class in high school because I knew I would get caught. But now without any sort of consequences, I find that the temptation is much larger.
Well, and I've noticed too, so I have a MacBook, so I can get my texts on my computer,
Yeah.
which is fine. Like, normally it's not that big of a deal because I tell people if I'm texting them that I'm in class, so I'm not going to text them back right away. But sometimes if I'm in a class that I'm not supposed to have, like a computer or an iPad or whatever it is, and my phone's sitting on the desk, like, I will want to check it because I'm not having the instant, like, I know what's going on. And, like, when I realize that, it's a little bit scary because it's like, oh.
Yeah, like how much
Like-
it bothers you. Like have you ever experienced, I need to read up more on this, but there is like a psychological phenomenon that phones have started where like, because my phone is always on vibrate, I never leave my ringer on. I will feel like phantom vibrations and I will immediately check my phone and nothing has changed. And it's been maybe 3 minutes since I last checked. And I'm like, am I hallucinating phone vibrations right now?
That's happened to me so I live in the dorms and I have like a bag that I take when I go to take a shower or whatever it is. I'll set my phone like in the bottom of the bag because I don't know. I take my phone with me everywhere. It just like, it lives in there.
If you die, then
if
like
I die
they need to
while
know.
I'm taking a shower, like I need to let someone know. But I will be like brushing my teeth and I'll swear I hear it vibrate. I can like hear it and then I check, nothing new. So I don't know. I choose to believe that it's just like something like in the room that's like
like a
making
true sound
and
that you just mistake for your phone.
Going crazy, but I definitely have had moments where it's like on my backpack and I'll like hear it and then I check and there's nothing there.
And it's just another sign that I sit there and I'm like, I'm addicted to my phone.
Well, and it's hard to like break that cycle because everything is online at this point. Like or not all, but like most of my schoolwork is online. It's submitted online. It's all virtual stuff. You can read books online. I don't have a TV, so everything that I watch is online.
Well, and you talk about living in the dorms. I know that GroupMe is something that is frequently used for communication with residents, but like Snapchat group chats, like what's the first thing when you meet people that you ask for to reconnect with them later? Their social medias. A lot of people like asking for people's phone numbers now is kind of rare.
It seems so serious.
Yes, it feels like a much bigger commitment than just asking for someone's Snapchat. I feel like, and I also feel safer giving someone my social media rather than my actual phone number, even though they are about the same level of like my phone number is in the signature of my email. Like it is not hard to find my phone number, but it feels much more intimate than giving someone your social media handle.
I don't know what I was told at some point, but like I feel like someone told me that people could like track you off your phone number somehow. I don't know if that's real or if I just saw that probably on social media. Probably on social media when I was in like 7th grade. But like social media, giving out your social media, it's honestly worse.
Yeah.
Because there's pictures of you. People can see like, oh, if every post this person makes is in this town, this is where they live.
Mm-hmm.
This is their house in the background.
Well, and Snapchat has location that you can sometimes leave on, sometimes turn off.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like you said, on social medias, now you can put like the locations in Instagram posts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like, and here's another reason why I have to use social media. I am a social media chair for the K-Sto board, and that I like to put where the locations of our events are going to be on those posts. However, if somebody finds that social media, they'll know obviously where this event is, but like where I go to school, where, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where these things happen.
Well, and people put like their tags, like,
Mm-hmm.
or not their tags, but in their bio, like, this is the school I go to. This is my graduation year. I have it in my bio. And it's like if someone, I have a private account, so it's not as bad, but if someone would go on with like a burner account, especially with like AI, they can put a picture that looks like if I see some random girl and it says K-State 2028 or whatever, I'm not going to second guess it. I'm going to just approve it and move on. But it's like realistically, you can find out a lot about someone based off their social media.
Absolutely. And like that's kind of why we use it. That was the next thing I was kind of going to get into is like, why as a college student do we use social media? And the obvious answer is connection with other people. Mm-hmm. But I do a fair amount of when I meet new people, I do look them up on social media. I want to see what they're about. Or if I think someone is cool, I want to see what they're posting. I want to see what they're into. I want to see what they look like, things like that.
Well, and I feel like everyone at this point like stalks people on social media just a little bit.
Like just a little
if
bit.
I hear someone talking about someone and I want to know who it is, like if one of my friends is telling me about someone, I look them up because I'm like, oh, what do they look like? What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
And then like that can lead you down a rabbit hole of like this person's tagged. Are they dating? Who's this person?
You can find out so much.
Yeah, you can find out a lot, which is really nice to some extent because it's like interesting. And usually, I mean, if you're not like crazy, it's not harmful. But yeah, I use social media mostly to just stay in contact and I mean, entertainment, obviously.
Entertainment, definitely. TikTok gets the best of me. The doom scrolling at night, a little bit past my bedtime. Yep, gets us all.
Yeah. One thing I will say, I've tried to not do in high school. So, or not high school. Hello. When I was in high school, I wasn't supposed to have my phone like in my room when I was going to sleep because like the light rays and
they say blue light is really bad for sleep schedule and man. Yep.
It probably
is.
is, but I don't have anywhere else to put it. So it goes on my little table. But I do try like when I wake up in the morning, because I don't have that regulation of like, oh, you can't have your phone in this area or like whatever it is. I'm like, I should not go on Instagram first thing in the morning.
But what do we do? Check the phone.
I check the phone. I go through, I answer my texts, I answer my Snapchats. Then I look and I have messages on Instagram from people. And I have to go through and answer all of them, which is like great because I like to do it. But it's also like maybe I shouldn't be doing that at 7 a.m.
It is something that makes me feel more awake, which probably is because of the blue light. But like the immediate connection in the morning, I feel like is also a double-edged sword because the immediate connection of like, oh, I can check my email from anywhere. So I can check my email from my bed. I can know if a class is canceled. I can know if, a friend is saying hi to me. You know what I mean? Like I can see what's going on immediately, like when I wake up. But the other edge of that is now like I'm seeing news and social media and celebrities sometimes when I'm like first thing in the morning. And depending on how that affects my self-esteem and my mental health, like seeing that first thing in the morning is already not a great way to start the day. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like, and also it's a big distraction. Like I frequently find myself getting lost checking my phone first thing in the morning, and then all of a sudden 20 minutes have gone by and I'm like, oh, I was supposed to start getting ready for class 10 minutes ago.
Which I don't know if this is like factually sound, But I feel like I heard this somewhere, actually in a podcast, maybe.
Podcastception.
Podcast overlay here. That like if you go on your phone first thing in the morning and are on like social media or something that gives you like a bigger dopamine hit, because like when you scroll you get the dopamine hit, it like sets your base dopamine like threshold, or like how much you're trying to get after that at like a higher level, because you got a higher level than if you just got up and like went about your day as normal and had breakfast or whatever you do and then went on it like 30 minutes after you're awake. That it like gives you a spike initially, so then you want to reach that spike throughout the day.
So then maybe you're bored throughout the day
Yeah.
and you can't hit that dopamine threshold for the day. That's interesting.
I feel like that's real.
We'll link
It might
some more
not
info
be.
to that down in the description. But yeah, so kind of transitioning into the next thing I wanted to talk about, of like, you say that dopamine hit, that immediate connection to your socials. Do you ever feel pressure to present yourself a certain way online? Immediately, you know, most of us, most college students get that immediate connection in the morning. We see our friends living their best lives first thing in the morning, and it can sometimes affect the way that we feel about ourselves. Do you as a college student feel pressure to present your best self on social media?
I mean, I would say generally yes and no, because I feel like most of the people that I actually care about their opinions aren't really going to judge me for what I do, or they already know what I'm doing. And so it's not as big of a deal. But I would say like there's a lot of people that post like, oh, like they go out every weekend, or like they're hanging out with like a million people, you know, or whatever it is. And I'm a person that usually has like a smaller social circle, but like a closer social circle. And so, I mean, I also don't really like to go out every weekend, because it's like I don't know. I like to do other things. Like I like to sleep and spend time with my family and my friends in like a different setting than that. But like sometimes when you do see it, it's like, oh, should I be doing that? Like, should I be going out more? Like, am I missing something by not? Am I missing something by not having like this massive group of people that I'm around? And so I guess it's less of a pressure to like present myself in a different way, but more of a pressure to like change my behavior to match what I see online.
That is so interesting. I feel the same way. I think that FOMO definitely gets the best of me when I see things on social media, especially when it comes to like relationships or friendships. College can be really lonely for some people. We did an entire section about loneliness earlier this year, and about, you know, the book Together. That was the K-State Common Read this year, that loneliness is something that a lot of college students experience. I do think social media can help with loneliness because it connects you to other people, but I am not going to post about how lonely I'm feeling. I will post, however, when I go out, you know, with my friends, maybe, or when I do a group costume with my friends on Halloween. That's a good example, because I feel like sometimes when I am hanging out with my friends, or my friends and I are going and doing something special, that I do sometimes feel pressure of like, okay, we have to get a good picture. That like, or if I'm on vacation with my family, okay, I have to get a good picture and then I can relax, which is such a strange thing that I've just observed in myself. And I feel like when I talk about this with other people, they observe it in themselves too.
Yeah, I definitely notice that. Like anytime I'll go on, I mean, not anytime I go on a vacation, but generally if I go out or if I'm doing something special, I'm like, I need to post about this, because so like then people will see that I'm doing something cool too.
Yeah.
Not just other people. So then I look like I'm doing things that are important or are fun or are different than what I normally do. So I need to make sure almost that I look better than I normally do. I don't know. It's like if you're doing something special, you should look a certain way in that, so then you can post it and it looks more impactful.
Yeah, even with football games and things. I mean, I get dressed up for football games. I don't get super dressed up on the daily, or at least not to the extent I would for like a football game. So I do feel that pressure of, oh, I need to get a good picture of myself because I have a special occasion. And I feel like that's normal. I think that there was an equivalent of that before social media was a thing, with either digital cameras or disposable cameras. You know, you want a good picture of yourself looking nice. But I also think that I do feel more pressure to, every time I do something special or every time I do something, to make it look cute or aesthetic, because I really want to post about it. And then when, speaking just from personal experience, when I post, I do find myself checking the like count more often than I probably should.
If I post a story, sometimes I check how many people have viewed it. I rewatch it. I'm like, does the sound fit right? Like, if I saw this, what would I think? Which, it's not inherently bad, but it's like, sometimes like if you check it once or twice, it's like, yeah, whatever. But you check it like 8 times in an hour. It's like, what are you doing?
I know. It gets to the point I'll check it and nothing has changed. And I'm like, oh, I checked this 3 minutes ago. Like, I maybe need to stop.
Yeah. Or like I'll get the notification like a month after I post something that someone liked it. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And it's someone that I know. So I'm like, oh, it probably just popped up on their feed like a month later, because I've done that to people. But I'm like, I don't know. It's like, even if it's after the fact by like a long shot and I don't even think about it, the minute I get reminded of it, I go back and I check it. Or I'll reread old comments on posts.
I do frequently stalk my own Instagram because I do care quite a bit about how it looks. Like, and the thing is that's another double-edged sword, which is why this topic is so interesting, because I wanted to speak about it not in a negative or a positive light, but just kind of things that we have both observed of how it affects our lives. I take a lot of pride in my social media appearance because I feel like it is an extension of my self-expression. So part of me checking the like count and the comments and my own Instagram and trying to see if the sound fits right or if the picture looks right is the same way that I would view like wearing a nice outfit or doing my hair in the morning. Like, yes, there is something a little bit vain about it, but it is because I feel like it is an extension of my self-expression. So that, to a degree, is good, and I like that because when I do make a really nice post to social media, I'm like, oh, I feel really good about the way that this looks, and I like the way that people are going to see this and think of this as an extension of me. In the same way that, like, when I wear a really nice outfit and people give me compliments on it, I'm like, oh, those mean a lot because I really like the way that this outfit looks. The other side of it, though, is when you are checking and looking maybe either for a specific person to view it or for, like, maybe the like count is not as high as you would like it to be. When you start competing with yourself, I think that's when it maybe gets a little dangerous, at least for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. What were you saying? Or not what were you saying? What you were saying about that first part of it being like an extension of yourself, I would definitely agree with that. Because the nice thing about social media is if you post something that you really like resonate with at the time or really enjoy, and then a couple months later or a year later or however long, you don't necessarily feel like it represents you as well, you can remove it. Like, you can archive posts whenever you want. And I feel like that is a very nice thing about social media, is it's not just like it is out there forever, like digital footprint, but if it's just like a normal post of you at some event, like no one's really going to notice if it's gone. But you can kind of reshape how you present yourself to the public, which I would say is definitely an interesting aspect of it. But I think when you get to the comparison point of whether you're comparing it to yourself or like your past self or other people that you see posting, I would say that's when it gets the most problematic, which I feel like is what like people who have like expert information about it talk about the most, is that comparison aspect.
Yes.
With it.
And I find that this is because social media has such a negative connotation to it, even in people who do it for jobs, even in people who use it all the time, it does definitely feel negative when you consider that aspect of it, because that is a large portion of why people use social media, and sometimes even why I use social media. I mean, when I want to know what somebody's up to, particularly because I want to see I want to see if they're doing well or as well as I'm doing. It only hurts my feelings. You know what I mean? It's just such a complicated thing.
Yeah. I mean, and even if you are looking to see like how someone's doing, and I mean, I'd like to think that everyone hopes that other people are doing well, but even if you're hoping that someone's doing not as well, if you see that they aren't, usually that's not going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
If you see someone doing bad on social media, like, that's where people tend to represent themselves the best. Like, usually people don't put out there like, oh, I had a really bad day and I fell down the stairs. Because, like, no one wants to admit that. No one wants to say that they've been having a horrible day to
Yeah.
500 people on their following. And so I feel like regardless of how you're comparing, like comparison in general is just
The thief of joy.
It is.
And we just talked about like posting for special occasions. A lot of people talk about like social media is a highlight reel. We know this. We know that, you know, you're going to want to try and put a good version of yourself online because it is an extension of that self-expression. But the way that my life looks, it looks like on social media that I travel and enjoy life all the time. And if you look at the posts, the length between posts, this is another thing that I've noticed post high school, the length between posts is longer, kind of like what you were saying. Mm-hmm. So like there will be months in between two posts, but because they're on social media, they appear as though they happen one right after the other. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at this social media, you're like, oh my gosh, they do all this cool stuff all the time. They take no breaks and they never feel bored ever. Mm-hmm. And even though you know that's not true, when you can't see it, it's really hard to believe.
Well, and I feel like part of that comes from like influencers in general because they can go like to the Bahamas and then come back and go to an event in New York and then go to something in LA and then go home for a week, but their home is in like Florida on the coast. And it's like, oh, they're doing great stuff all the time. So like when you see that and then you see someone's post from your hometown and they post their family vacation and then when they went on like a spring break trip or whatever, you're going to assume that they're like in the same level as like, not in the same level as an influencer, but like
but the
posts are going to be like similar because it's all social media and you can switch from one to the other immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's on the same playing field. And so everybody kind of feels like a celebrity. That's such an interesting observation. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I try to be careful about what influencers I do follow because some of them do post things that do tend to neglect very much like the negative side of life or like kind of like the reality of what's going on. But some influencers go the complete opposite way. And I do think authenticity is like very important. And I think that there's definitely a place for that kind of like content that obviously like if you're in a very negative place in your life and you choose to share that, that's totally up to you. Personally, I found I can't consume content like that because if I'm in a negative place or I'm stressed about something, I can't consume only negative media or it compounds it. Likewise, I can't consume only positive media because then it's like, everyone's doing great stuff and I'm in the snow doing finals.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so this is a perfect transition into one of the things I wanted to talk about of like, how do you feel that you can improve your social media usage? Like you just talked about of like, there is a place for authenticity and there's a place for celebrating your accomplishments and using social media as an extension of yourself. So maybe the answer is balance of how you use it, when you use it, and being intentional about how you're feeling when you use it. Because we always talk about like everybody wants to cut down on their social media usage. And there's lots of ways to do that. But the reality is that everybody is using it. And if you're someone who actually does find that there are positive benefits to use it, you don't want to completely cut it out of your life. So like, I don't know, maybe improving the way you use it is just paying attention to how you're feeling when you're using it.
Yeah. One thing I did since, I guess it was mid-summer this past year, I decided that I wanted to have a spam account because I felt like with people going to college, I wanted to be able to keep people updated kind of on what was going on. And also, I'm a very sentimental person, so I like to post pictures and then be able to look back at them. And I was like, I have like funny pictures of like me doing stuff with my friends or my family that I want to be able to have somewhere other than just my camera roll because I want to be able to go back and look at it. And I can't do that on my main account. Like I don't feel like that's a space that I can just post like a random picture of someone doing something.
It feels a little too serious.
Yeah. And so I made a spam account and like just being able to have like that separation of like, I can post like, oh yeah, I've been sick for 2 weeks. That's great. But here's like some funny pictures of whatever's going on. And like, you know what I mean? Like I can kind of balance the upsides and the downsides with it in like a more casual way.
Yes, casual, like a much more low pressure environment rather than, because I find myself taking a really long time to make Instagram posts for an account that I know everybody follows.
Which is interesting that like social media is supposed to be like for fun kind of.
I know.
But we take it so seriously that it's like things have to be perfect when we post it.
And now that it has become, I mean, social media is part of jobs for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
I remember before social media became jobs, it was for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, and it still should be for fun. But now, I mean, social media marketing is a huge thing and a huge career that lots of people go into. So like it is interesting how that has shifted.
Yeah.
But spam accounts, I love those. I follow so many of my friends. I don't have one. Maybe I should make one.
You should. I really like mine. I post like every other week.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I don't know. It brings me a lot of joy. And I mean, people can choose not, like it's, if I unfollow someone's spam because like it bothers me how much they're posting or whatever like that sounds really bad, but like some people.
Or like turn notifications
yeah,
off or
like
something.
whatever it is. It's like, I don't really care if someone unfollows my spam. Like if I'm on my main and I see that someone like that I was like closer with at some point in my life unfollows me, I'm like, oh,
what happened? What's
it
going on?
It feels so serious and it
Mhm.
feels so intentional that then you wonder like what
Was it personal?
what
Was it
triggered
not?
this, because they had to specifically look this up because I haven't posted on here in months.
Mhm. Yeah. Interesting. But I do like that you talked about spam accounts of like bringing, we talk a lot about why social media is bad, but you can find those little nuggets of how social media brings you joy and like can be fun and silly. That's so cool. And us talking about how social media has developed from something that used to just be fun and silly into something that is way more a job. What do you think, how do you think social media will shape college in the next few years?
You know, it's tricky to tell. I mean, I hate to be the person that brings up AI because I feel like
But we
sound
gotta
like,
talk about it.
I feel like an old person when I'm like, AI is going to take our jobs. But
I
like,
don't like it either.
it just, I use AI from time to time, like Google AI. If I look something up, I do just read the Google AI little synopsis thing.
Yeah.
If it's like an easy question, obviously, if it's like a real challenging question, I'm not going to just go off Google AI. But I think we will continue to use it to like socialize and share our lives because I feel like that's the trend that it's always had.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, like, I think that at least for myself, as I go throughout college, I do want to make sure that I take time to like have hobbies outside of using my phone, like reading or like going outside or being active or scrapbooking or whatever it is. Like just having things that I do outside of social media is definitely going to be something that I have to be very intentional about. And I've already had to be very intentional about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be interesting.
That way then you have something to like post about on social media. You know what I mean?
You can't post about something if you don't do anything.
Exactly. Or like tailoring the content on social media to be content that brings you joy is something that you can totally do, but you can only really do that. Like I find that if I read a book that's really good or go see the Wicked movie,
Mm-hmm.
consuming content about the Wicked movie is something that brings me joy instead of consuming content about like a celebrity's modeling career or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe instead of consuming content on social media that would maybe launch feelings of self-consciousness or comparison, being able to consume social media content that's about my favorite things, awesome. But you have to have those interests in order to consume content about them.
And it's also like there's a lot of useful things on social media. Like if you're wanting to like make food, I take so many recipes off of social media. And even if I don't use the exact recipe on social media because it'll be like comment blah 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 to get the recipe sent to you, and I don't want to do that because I don't care that much. But like I'll see it and then I'll go look up a recipe for it. Or if it's like if you're going to work out or something and you need to know like what you're going to do. Because,
Yeah, using social media to enhance
yeah.
your enjoyment of those interests.
Or hairstyles, makeup. There's so many people on social media that are just insanely good with like cosmetics.
Oh, yeah. You can learn so much.
Yeah. Or even like dupes for like expensive brands. I can't afford like Charlotte Tilbury. Unfortunately, it's not in the cards for me. But like being able to find things that are more affordable, I feel like there are definitely aspects of it that are very beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that making sure that you are intentional about how you're using social media it's all a part of a balance. Like you don't have to cut social media out of your life. If you want to cut down on social media usage, do it. But you don't have to if you change the way that you use it.
I feel like that's the biggest thing. Like, there's such a push for like social media is horrible, social media is bad.
And it can be.
It can be, but you have to self regulate like anything else. Like, if you're too obsessed with schoolwork or you're too obsessed and you become like a workaholic, you have to be able to set boundaries with yourself. And so I feel like a lot of your relationship with social media depends on the relationship that you have with yourself and how you view yourself and how you view the world.
Yeah. That's such a good sentiment. Oh my gosh. Well, we are approaching time. So if there's any final thoughts you would like to say, I think you summed it up beautifully of like social media it's neither all bad, neither all good, which we knew this before going into it. It's just interesting to talk about because there is no one size fits all solution, but changing the way that you use social media could be a way you could improve the way you use it. Um, taking an interest in other things besides social media is a way you can cut down on your usage if you want to do that. But then maybe utilizing social media to enhance your enjoyment of those interests or to learn something new is also a really big positive. I really do love having a positive conversation about social media as well as mentioning negatives because you can't have one without the other.
Well, and I think it's important to have an understanding that social media is something that people can choose to use or can choose not to use. And so it doesn't really help to only say, like, you're a horrible person if you use social media and your mental health is going to go horrible and your physical health is going to go way downhill, because it only focuses on the extremes of the situation. And I feel like there's so many people that fall in that middle area that you can sway yourself either way. And it's an intentional choice of how you choose to handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being a guest on the podcast. If you would like to know more about the resources mentioned in this podcast, there will be links in the show notes. There will probably also be some links to some more information about social media usage because we talked a lot about concepts that we had read about before, and I want to do some more research to link some stuff down there. If you would like to know how to get more involved and active on campus, as well as how to access mental health resources, as always, those are linked in the show notes. We'll see you next time.